The Houthi have been very politically astute from the very beginning. Understand that they have been in a state of war against modern Western-style military since 2014, when the conflict with Saudi Arabia began. Saudi Arabia flying virtually similar aircraft that the Israelis fly, dropping bombs that are made in the USA, using intelligence provided by the U.S. So the Houthi know what they're getting involved in. They know what they're getting into. And they have made a decision that they will not stand silent while the Palestinian people in Gaza and in Palestine and in the West Bank are being brutalized and systemically slaughtered by the Israeli government. They have said that they began a naval blockade of the Red Sea, of the Gulf of Aden, of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, because out of sympathy for the people of Gaza, that blockade won't stop until there's a ceasefire and humanitarian aid comes in, etc. Israel has been carrying out just wanton genocidal bombings of Gaza and the Gazans now on a daily basis. And so what the Houthi have done is given the Israelis a little bit of their own medicine by attacking Tel Aviv, calling it a military target, and saying that the civilians should evacuate. This is pretty much the same instructions that the Israelis give the Gazans. But there's another element to this that everybody seems to be missing. Because yes, the Houthi attacked, vast majority of that which they attacked, the weapons they used were dealt with by the Israelis. It's the Israeli response, though. Just like Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th with the goal of getting the Israelis to overreact, the Houthi attacked Tel Aviv with the goal of getting the Israelis to overreact, and they have. They've struck a port in Yemen that is essential for the provision of humanitarian aid. It reinforces the narrative that Israel is a genocidal state, and it has prompted the result that I think the Houthi were looking for. The Russians have said that they will not stand on the sideline forever while Israel does what it does. And the Russians have also indicated that they will probably provide advanced weaponry to the Houthi. So the next time the Houthi attack, it won't be with old-fashioned drones. They'll be coming at Israel with advanced Russian weapons that cannot be shot down by Israeli air defense. The Houthi, they're pretty clever. They're pretty smart. They're strategically astute. Israel, once again, walked into an ambush that was set by a member of the Axis resistance who knows the region and knows the politics better than Israel does. Israel attacked Iran. It's straight up. And Iran has said that is a red line and that Iran's retaliation will be on a scope and scale greater than that which took place back in April when they carried out Operation True Promise. And this appears to be the direction that Iran is heading. Some people predict that this attack will take place tonight. We don't know. I mean, Iran gets to make that decision. The timing and the level of retaliation is purely an Iranian decision. But Netanyahu had to know that by attacking Iran the way he did, that he was going to push Iran to where they needed to retaliate, and this would take it to another level. Whether he believes that the United States would intervene or he was trying to force the Americans to intervene, I don't know. The United States has indicated that it will not participate in offensive actions against the Iranians, that all they'll do is defend Israel from any Iranian missile attack. What happens when Hezbollah joins in the fight? What happens if Iran, the pro-Iranian militias in Iraq do? There's already indication that American bases have been attacked in Iraq, maybe as a precursor to a larger regional offensive by the axis of resistance. We're in a very, very dangerous situation right now, and it's all because of Benjamin Netanyahu's desire to hold on to political power at any cost.
What do you think will happen in the next several weeks because of the evil that Netanyahu has wrought?
If Iran retaliates on the level that it has indicated would be retaliation for such an attack, we could be looking at tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of lives lost. A general war between Iran and Israel that could drag the region in and drag the United States and maybe even Russia and China into it. Israel has indicated that if Iran strikes civilian targets, that it will hit Iran's nuclear infrastructure. And Iran, of course, would respond by hitting Israel's nuclear infrastructure, and the escalation would go from there. So we're looking at, the real possibility that densely populated urban areas, both in Israel, Iran, and elsewhere, Beirut, could be hit with very lethal conventional weapons. Again, on a scope and scale that we haven't seen. I mean, Ukraine doesn't the war in Ukraine definitely isn't done in this fashion. If you go to Kiev, the capital, people are partying, they're walking, they're shopping. You hardly know that there's a war. That won't be the case if there's a general conflict between Israel and Iran. Tehran, Isfahan, these cities will be hit. Tel Aviv, Haifa, these cities will be hit. And, civilian targets will be hit. Civilians will pay a very heavy price.
Here's Hassan Nasrallah 2 days ago. Tell me what you think. Cut number 3.
The enemy and those behind the enemy must wait for our inevitable reaction. God willing, there is no discussion or controversy about this.
Does he mean what he says?
I believe he does, but again, he was very, non-descriptive in what he said, meaning that it's open to interpretation. Would he participate in a general retaliation with Iran, or would he hold off and strike at a time and place of his choosing? We have yet to see. Nasrallah has been a master of escalation management, and not one to jump off the deep end precipitously, but I do think that he will take guidance from Iran's actions. Now, we know that former Defense Minister of Russia, Sergei Shoigu, has flown to Tehran. There seems to be a stream of Russian military aircraft flying to Iran, presumably delivering high-tech military equipment, maybe air defense systems, maybe surface-to-surface missile systems. We don't know. Could the Russians be asking the Iranians to delay, to tone things down, or are the Russians saying, we're here with you? We do know that Sergei Lavrov said about Israel's actions that Israel can't expect Russia to sit on the sidelines forever. Meaning
is that unusual? Is that unusual that Lavrov would say that, and that Shoigu would personally go to Tehran? Does that indicate to you a level of interest in the outcome of this dispute on the part of the Kremlin?
Absolutely. First of all, we know that Russia and Iran have signed a defense agreement. The details of which haven't been made public, but Russia and Iran are operating on a different level altogether today than they were this time last year, this time 6 months ago, this time 3 months ago. They are strategically connected. Russia and Iran have signed a deal that connects St. Petersburg with the southern Iranian ports of Chabahar and Bandar Abbas, providing connectivity that can't be blocked by the United States. They're linked in terms of industrial cooperation, geopolitical cooperation, and Russia has indicated that it is a strategic ally of Iran. So I think Israel and the United States have to proceed with caution, because this could very well turn into a conflict that has Russia jumping in on the side of Iran, and that potentially puts Russia not only at odds with Israel. And there's Sergei Lavrov's statement, we're not going to sit on the sidelines forever. Right. I think Russia's already made decisions. They're off the sidelines, they're off the bench, they're on the field. Now the question is, what game does Israel want to play?
Does Iran have nuclear weapons, Scott?
I believe they do not. I believe they have the ability to enrich uranium of sufficient enrichment that could be used in a nuclear device. Then is it going to be a uranium weapon, a plutonium weapon? If it's a uranium weapon, then they've got to convert it into metal. They could make a simple gun design that's not that complex, but an implosion device requires work on high explosives that the Iranians haven't, to my best of my knowledge, completed yet. It's also something that the Iranians said that they weren't going to do. I'm more worried to be honest, about a Pakistani weapon than I am about an Iranian weapon. If I were
what is your worry about a Pakistani weapon, that the Pakistanis would deliver a nuclear weapon at a target that Iran picked?
I think if Israel uses nuclear weapons, which is something that, if there's a general war between Israel and Iran, it's very likely that Israel would use some sort of nuclear device. It would be necessary to, for instance, penetrate into the Firdos nuclear facility, which is underground. It can't be penetrated by any conventional weapons. Israel would have to use a nuclear penetrator to get to it. If Israel used a nuclear weapon against Iran, it's inevitable that an Islamic weapon will hit Israel. It's inevitable. I'm just trying to be as clear as I can be about this. It's inevitable that an Islamic weapon will hit Israel and probably destroy Israel. And the Pakistanis have made it clear that that weapon probably will have made in Pakistan on it. Whether the Pakistanis deliver it themselves or give it to Iran to deliver, that's a question for the future to decide. But Israel needs to know that there is no free pass, that they don't get to use a nuclear weapon and nothing happens. Eventually, if Israel uses a nuclear weapon, Israel will be destroyed by nuclear weapons.
How about let's go back to the IDF and Hezbollah. The Wall Street Journal this morning, a cheerleader for Benjamin Netanyahu and a cheerleader for the destruction and genocide in Gaza, has a long piece reporting that the IDF is exhausted. They want to go back home. Their businesses are suffering. Their families are suffering. They're begging their leaders to beg Netanyahu's government not to pick a fight with the Hezbollah. Can the IDF alone defeat or diminish Hezbollah?
Well, diminish is a question. I think the IDF has the ability, if it engages in a full-scale war of attrition against Hezbollah, to inflict damage on Hezbollah. But I don't believe the IDF will win this war. I believe that Hezbollah will win the war of attrition, and it will be a strategic defeat for Israel. Israel prepared for such a conflict. They ran major exercises in 2021, 2022, but all of these exercises were predicated on Israel starting clean with a fresh military, all their resources focused on closing with and destroying the Hezbollah enemy. Israel is now entering this exhausted by over nearly 9 months of war in Gaza that has diminished it, depleted it. The troops are physically and morally exhausted, psychologically worn out. Their tanks no longer work. They don't have spare parts for their tanks. They're running out of ammunition. Their leadership is frayed. The morale of the men is low, and now you expect them to be thrown into battle against a highly trained, fanatical force like Hezbollah that is ready for this fight, has been preparing for this fight for over a decade, and will take this fight to Israel. Israel thinks that this fight's going to be fought in southern Lebanon as they seek to push the Hezbollah back to the Litani River. This fight will be fought in Galilee as Hezbollah comes in with tens of thousands of highly trained troops who are prepared to take the fight to Israeli towns, Israeli villages. Israel can't win this fight. They will lose this fight.
Has the United States ordered the deployment of 5,000 Marines to the Middle East?
They have, but 4,000 or 5,000, yes.
What are they going to do? They're not going to engage in a ground war, are they?
Not a damn thing. No, 5,000 Marines is insufficient forces to do anything of significance on the ground, other than NEO operation, which is a rescue operation. If you have to pull Americans out of Israel or out of Lebanon, out of harm's way, the Marines have contingencies where they can go in, they can secure a zone, usually in a permissive environment, but in some cases a non-permissive environment, and get American citizens out of that and then withdraw them out of the area. But in terms of a sustained presence on the ground, a meaningful presence, 5,000 Marines simply isn't enough.